Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are no strangers to Politically Speaking. From the Bluewater District School Board, Lori Wilder, who is Director of Education, and Jane Thomson, who is the Chair of the Board. It's, as one of your predecessors, Lori, said, education is something we all think we're experts in, and because we all know something about it. That's true.
We all went to school.
We all went to school, every one of us. That's right. So, but as we have said time and again on this program, and no matter whether it's education or politics or municipal or federal or provincial, it's a lot more complicated.
Absolutely.
Sure is.
And that's one of the reasons why we really appreciate your time today, because as I have said before, this is kind of like I got one-on-one face-to-face time with the people who are in the decision-making seat. And that is both in terms of operations with you, Lori, and governance, which is you, Jane. So it's a great opportunity to ask the questions. And let's start off with, okay, let's go straight to the top. Something that affects every single one of us, aside from our experiences in the past in education: taxes. Because you've done your budget, right?
We're working on our budget. From a school board perspective, we're still waiting for the grants for student needs to be announced or released. And then from that, we also have to wait for a technical paper. So until that technical paper comes out and that spells out how the grants for student needs get dispersed, our finance department will be working very hard in the next little while. I mean, they've been doing work all along and providing the shell of that and our hopes and wishes. But until that actual money is announced and released, that's when the finalized process starts.
When do you anticipate that showing up? Any word yet? Any thoughts? Any rumors?
The grants for student needs, I think soon. I haven't heard a specific date, but it should be soon. Lori, have you heard?
No, I know that Jane and I are invited to a teleconference with the minister, and it occurs every couple of weeks. And so that is a question that chairs of boards ask consistently when we can expect those, because the sooner the GSN comes in for us, the sooner we can really set an accurate budget. And we just keep being told that it'll be coming soon. So we have no date at this point in time.
That's the typical Ministry of Finance, Minister of Education, coming soon.
Yes.
Yeah, I recall seeing developers signs with that coming soon. 5 years later, nothing. Just nothing. No shovels in the ground. No dirt moved. Nothing. But that's politics. It's just the way politics. Now, I wonder, and it's just occurred to me, the Toronto Board of Education, which is the biggest board in the province, I believe, is really struggling around their budget. And even the headlines in today's newspaper were that they're proposing closing schools. That's not on the table here, just to be clear. But they're proposing closing schools, and they've brought in a whole bunch of changes that have made a lot of headlines. And they're right in, Queen's Park and Toronto, of course, are cheek by jowl. But there's a whole bunch of other school boards. So does Toronto actually set the timeline at all, Lori, do you think? Or it's just a matter of figuring out when Queen's Park is going to do, or Queen's Park will do what it's going to do?
Yeah, I'm pleased to say that due to the work of our trustees and previous budget deliberations, we are in a really solid financial position, unlike Toronto District School Board. So we are in the enviable position of looking at add-ons, things that we can do to support student learning and achievement and well-being. So I know too that Toronto has some unused space, and they've been asking if they can close schools, but the minister is saying no, because there has been a moratorium on the accommodation reviews. So they're not allowed to do that. But we are in a much better position than they are, and have been for a little bit of time. So we last year, the trustees worked diligently to support us in putting in some more supports for student achievement. For example, literacy coaches and math coaches. And we are using those to be in the school to support student learning and teacher learning as well. And we're looking at a couple of other items that we've just introduced to trustees at our last business committee meeting in terms of things they could consider moving forward. So just I've been in this role, not the director role, but I've been with Bluewater for a while, and we've not always been in this good financial position. So it's a very comfortable, wonderful place to be sitting.
I think just to elaborate a little bit, David, when we read the media reports, there are boards around the province that are struggling with their budgets. I think one of the key pieces is the unused space. We were able to make big decisions about that prior to the moratorium being put in place. But for the school boards that did not, they still hold on to that space. They're still paying for it. And they would dearly love the minister to lift that moratorium so they can make some decisions about how to handle that. So that's one of the items that fortunately put us in a better position back before that moratorium was put in place.
Indeed. And I remember those days very, very well, because my kids were affected by some of those decisions. And that's what, 10 years ago or more? At least.
Well, some of the decisions have been within my time on the board, so they would be less than 10 years.
Yeah.
But 8 years probably. We made some very difficult, well, maybe not even my first term. It was in the second term of the board on my time. So starting in 2018 that we made some big decisions. So, but we're in a good position now, and that is exciting. It's exciting to be thinking of growth and not in the struggling to figure out how to make ends meet.
Speaking of growth, are you anticipating more growth within the student population, particularly in the Southgate area and those kinds of and other places across the board at all?
Yes, our projections would say so, David. It's interesting, though, our projections for this year didn't really come to fruition. And I think it's because some of the builds down in the South Dundalk area hadn't actually occurred yet. But if you drive by, you can sure see that they're working on them now. So yes, our projections would say that is the case. Saugeen Shores is another area, growth area, Meaford area. So we are taking that into account, and we submitted some capital priorities for the Dundalk area. I'm just waiting to hear some news on that. And we also did for the Saugeen Shores area, and as well Kincardine Elementary in that order. But our biggest need right now is in the Dundalk area.
Sure. Well, it's an exciting time to see growth as opposed to decline, and that's. We've talked about this before, but the mayor of Owen Sound has said, "Hey, we got 2,000 homes that are approved, ready in the pipeline, ready to move dirt, but it's up to the builders. So we'll have to just wait and see."
Yes, exactly, because we can't plan for schools. No. It's essentially, we're told, and the ministry funds kind of for the whites of the eyes, like the student population needs to be there. They don't fund potential builds based on what may be. Although the time between an approval and a build, if there is a great change in numbers, we can go back to the ministry asking for increased spaces and funding to support that. Yes.
Yeah. And related to budget, there is labor peace within the teaching unions with the school board and the province, it appears, and that just means that local issues are the ones that get thrashed out between the locals and the board. Is that right, Jane?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that process is happening. And when they have reached an agreement, it'll come to the Board of Trustees for ratification.
Sure. And which is, it leads me to a related question, and this one's for you, more you, Lori.
Mm-hmm.
What's the staffing situation across Grey Bruce? Are you looking for teachers? Are you got enough, or are you oversupplied, or what?
I would say staffing in all our employee groups, we're always seeming to be looking for more so too on the occasional list, people who can come in and help support if an employee is ill or away for some other reason. That seems to be our bigger need. We've been able to fill majority of the positions, but it's just when we need to backfill for absences. That's, I think, provincially quite a large issue, is just finding qualified people to do the roles that are available. And I know that from a teaching perspective, there's been some talk through Minister Lecce that they are looking at how they can better support graduating more students from Teachers College, because as I understand it, really the demand is not meeting, there's a greater need out there than they are graduating students. So I just read an article today actually where I think it is Lakehead Teachers College, they're offering more spots than they're funded for, just to get more teachers college graduates out there and in the field teaching.
And just to be clear, you have to have a prior degree to get to enter Teachers College?
You do, yes, you do. You'd have to have a BA of some sort to get in, or honors BA to get in before, and then Teachers College currently is another 2 years beyond that. So when I went through, it was just a 1-year program, and the ministry changed that. I'm not sure how many years ago, not too many years ago actually, and made it a 2-year program. I do feel it's been a bit of a deterrent for some students because to commit another 2 years after they've done a university degree is another big commitment. So there has been talk about maybe them reducing it back to the 1 year, but there's certainly been no communication to that effect.
Well, we're a long way from back in the day, and I hate to say it, this is a long way, it predates all of us. I learned recently of a woman who began teaching at the age of 17.
Oh,
and had graduated normal school. No, Teachers College. It was Stratford Teachers College. And she started teaching at 17.
Wow. She would have been able to retire as a young woman.
Yes.
But she did. She kept on teaching. And actually she was here in this board and just passed away not too long ago. And so it was interesting to hear that started teaching at 17. Whoa.
Oh,
anyway.
That's very young for that responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility.
When you think of it, it is I think this woman was a public school teacher, but the potential could be if she had been teaching high school, she could have been younger than her students.
Exactly.
How the world has changed. But anyway, at least we now know. Now I know that there is because the school tax component is part of the blended tax rate for both the county, the municipal tax rate, the county, the upper tier, and now school taxes. They'll be eventually. It'll be coming out in the next little while. As we said.
We don't really have anything to do with the tax rate or setting that tax rate.
The rate that we are assigned on our tax bills, where we say it's school taxes, school levy.
Yes.
That comes from the budget, does it not?
Not from our budget.
Who assigns? Who does that?
The ministry, the province, I would say.
Okay, so we have if you recall your property tax bill, there's three parts. There's the municipal property tax, there's the upper tier or the county tax, and then there's the education tax. Is that set by the province?
I believe so, David. That was,
Okay.
so again, we're talking back in the day, boards of education did have an opportunity to set that rate, the school tax rate, but that ability was removed from them, from the government. They said no more. So that is not part of the budget process at all. So that is set at a different level. And I suspect, as Jane had said, it's probably coming from the ministry level. So we don't have anything to do with that. Trustees have nothing to do with that.
And that's really helpful to reiterate.
Yes.
Because I know that the tax rates, property tax rates are a continuing cause of confusion. So this is great. That's very, very helpful to have that stated clearly. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's jump into something else, and it's related to government and budget, and that's the announcement of the National School Food Program.
Yes.
Which was a very recent announcement by the federal government, the Liberal, by Prime Minister Trudeau. What's the impact of that going to be, or do you know anything yet?
I don't think we know what the impact will be yet. It is good news. OPSPA, our Ontario Public School Board Association, has been advocating for this since it was first announced back in 2019. Many school boards have written letters to the government regarding it. We have a notice of motion sitting on our books to support this, but the announcement has come in the meantime. But it will be interesting. I mean, it's great news. It's very, very good news, but it'll be interesting to see what that large amount of money means for all of the students in Canada, and then how that plays out within our own school board.
Sure. Well, I know student nutrition is a huge, huge issue in all school boards. So it will be interesting to see. And on that note, I just learned very recently that the Branch 6 Owen Sound Legion has made a contribution to school nutrition across the board as well.
Excellent.
We have that is, we're so thankful, very, very thankful. We have had a very successful breakfast program that's run for years here in Bluewater. And so we have been offering in all of our schools a breakfast program. This extra money will help, but it's been due to organizations, as you've just listed, that have helped us fund this breakfast program for our students and the volunteers. We have so many wonderful volunteers who ensure that our students are fed, or they might have a tray of fruits and vegetables or crackers, cheese, for example, placed in their classrooms throughout the day that the children can graze upon if they wish in between the day. So we've been attempting to support this as best as we can, but this new approval of the National Food Program is very welcome.
Sure. Well, we shall see what happens. Let's, many's what's the old saying? Many's a slip twixt cup and lip. And we shall see. We shall see how this plays out. Looking forward to it personally.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Is always exciting, especially because I live quite right close to two of your schools. And there's always, over the summer, there's always something going on. There's always tradespeople running hither and thither, and banging and booming. Hey, not too long ago, there was a massive crane at OSDSS pulling a tree out of the middle of the school. So it's always the thing. So what's happening over the summer, Lori?
Well, I think Jane might be prepared to speak.
Okay, then Jane, go for it.
Are you okay?
What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I was just looking to see if there was anything in your neighborhood on my list here. I think you might have a quieter summer.
Good.
Yeah. We're doing some work at Spruce Ridge in Durham and at GC Houston Public School in Southampton. It's a parking lot that's happening there, and at GC Houston, it's the installation of a new elevator shaft. Normandy Community in Ayton is a replacement of secondary hydro feeds. So electrical upgrades. Grey Highlands is the hydro transformer. So again, and some site rejuvenation parking lots at Huron Heights, Elgin Market, Kincardine, and Arentara. And HVAC upgrades at Peninsula Shores, Huron Heights, Kincardine, and Hillcrest. So there's a lot of work when you consider our summer moves by very, very quickly. Getting tradespeople is, as you know, a difficult process at times. So it's an ambitious list of work. But we're grateful that, the work is there to be done to keep our schools in top-notch condition. So.
To be sure, and I noticed that one of the questions we've talked about in the past has been portables, particularly around in Southgate. But there was a bit of a controversy, questions raised about portables at Agnes MacPhail and Flesherton, and that got sorted out. But what was that all about?
Do you want to speak to that, Laurie? It's really the portable placement is a operational piece, so I'll let Laurie speak to it. Yeah.
Thanks, Jane. So we do have actually a procedure on portables and the placement, and so we have an opportunity to present to our trustees just the number of portables that will be coming to our board for the next school year, which we do every year. And then from that point, we go out and with the procedure, if we can consult with school communities. So we did do that, and the feedback that we received was great. I think things got a little bit ahead of us though, and so I know community members and parents had expressed concern, as you alluded to, David, but we were able to have a community meeting, involve parents and staff, and listen to their feedback, and came to a really great compromise. So we will be placing the portables in an area that is certainly much more accepting to everyone, and it isn't impacting a forested area called the Kindy Forest. So overall, it was, I think, a win-win for everybody.
And I'll be honest with you, it just shows that the community is so engaged with the school system. I mean, that's, the end result was a positive one, but the engagement process just shows that, hey, people are interested in their schools.
Absolutely. And
which is wonderful.
We value and appreciate that. And when we look at our multi-year strategic plan, I mean, we talk about community engagement, so we do welcome it for sure.
Good.
And David, I have to stand corrected because I did miss a couple of big projects, and one of them is in your neighborhood. At Owen Sound, there is a project going to update our change rooms, and the weight room and the science rooms will be updated, and the existing portable is to be removed from the outside, and the tennis courts will be resurfaced. So there will be.
And that's all at OSDSS, correct?
Yes, and at Saugeen, there's some work there for mechanical system upgrades and to refresh gym, staff room, and lockers there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be interesting to see that the tennis courts certainly do need a refresh. They're showing their age. I know that was taken care of 10, 15 years ago.
If I may add to that, it may not be for tennis use. I mean, it could be pickleball or there's still kind of there's decisions being made on what that can look like exactly.
Well, for sure, because I know pickleball is a very, very active and very competitive sport.
And very popular sport.
Oh, yes, very, very. It's quite the remarkable sport. I know people who play it, I won't say competitively, but they take it very seriously. We shall see. Well, we'll watch for that. That's for sure. One of the other things I think that is worth lifting up is the partnerships that you have, that the school has with the community, which we alluded to with regard to McPhail, but it's more than that, isn't it, Lori?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in fact, this afternoon, and Jane may wish to speak to that, we're hosting a community planning and partnership meeting. And so the invitation is open to many of our partner organizations and beyond, and they can come and talk to us about sharing our space that we might have. So we share a presentation about where we may have space available, and then they present back about some of the opportunities they might see. I mean, we have partnerships with, when you think of many of our daycare organizations, childcare organizations, we have partnerships. So it goes beyond exactly what you've just discussed. I don't know, Jane, if you had more to add to that.
Well, I always am struck. This meeting has been going on for a number of years now. And when it first started, it seemed a unique opportunity for people from both counties and different organizations to come together. There weren't those opportunities where they would meet individually, perhaps, but not necessarily across the groups. And it is, it has really grown. I'm always struck that it's a opportunity for us to work together to enhance Grey and Bruce counties for our students, their families, and indeed for everyone. When we're thriving, and that's good for all of our community members. But it really is a nice opportunity for members of Grey County, for instance, to sit and hear the issues for Bruce County. I'm not sure of another opportunity that exists for that to happen.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, I happen to know that school parking lots are even used. There's a group here in Owen Sound that uses the Hillcrest parking lot for astronomy. And they go out, quite frequently if the weather's clear, and they will set up telescopes right in the parking lot, and you can go out and you can have a look at the stars. They didn't do the eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
The people involved actually went to Quebec, but the parking lot is a great place for to stargaze.
Well, and I should also refer to, we have a very busy community education department. So as well, after school hours, our school is used for many, many different activities, similar to what you alluded to, David. And when you mentioned parking lots, I know often I drive by Eastridge on the weekend and they'll have motorcycle training in the parking lot. And it's been happening for a few years now. But we also have a lot of sporting events that happen, or craft fairs, things like that, where our schools are great places for communities to come in and use that space.
Not to mention the Georgian Bay Symphony.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That again at Eastridge. So
yes.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break because, well, we got to take a quick break. The people are telling me that's the case. So we shall be back, friends. Not too long. Stay with us. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
This is Rogers TV.
Are you the type who would keep going or stop? It's not easy to stop when you have an addiction. Legalizing cannabis won't stop addiction. It trivializes its consumption. Let's be vigilant. If you need help, visit portage.ca.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are Jane Thomson, who is the chair of the Bluewater District School Board, and Lori Wilder, who is the director of education. And it's always a pleasure to have them both on the show to talk about what's happening in our education systems across plural systems, because there's multiples across Grey Bruce. I suppose that's true, because when you think about, there's the Roman Catholic School Board, there are several private schools. It's a systems, not a system. So, grammar, isn't it wonderful? Anyway, welcome back to the both of you.
Thank you.
All right, there's on my notes, there's a comment about de-streaming. And I know we've talked about that in the past, and this was a big political announcement a year ago.
Well, actually, it started in 21-22.
Okay.
And Ontario was the first province in Canada to adopt de-streaming for the grade 9 curriculum. So if you think about it, in our elementary schools, children are essentially de-streamed in a way, but that's not a term we would use in elementary school. And what it means that all children are together in the same class. So they've decided to do the same in grade 9 as well, the ministry, because they felt that it was too early for students to make decisions about their futures. And if you have the academic and applied program in grade 9, like we used to have, it's tough because you start then limiting or opening options according to what you choose. So they've just moved ahead, and in 2021, they started just with the math curriculum, and then it was followed by science in 2022, English in 2023, and this coming September 2024 will be geography. So they've brought them in slowly, which I think is a good idea, and research would show that again, it's really important for students to keep their options open in grade 9, particularly too because they're dealing with a lot of social emotional changes as they enter a secondary school. So we've been trying our best to support teachers learning in de-streaming and how to deliver the curriculum. So we've been working with our teachers as well to support them. And we do have a very good indication that in September or semester 1 of this past year, so students in our grade 9 de-stream courses were able to accumulate over 90% of their credits. So in these core subject areas that I mentioned, math, English, and science. So that is a very, very good statistic, and compared to the province, is a great statistic. So our educators are doing a fantastic job, our students are doing a great job, and as well as our administrators and instructional coaches that we have in supporting it. So it's a change from when many of us went to school, but I feel that it's a very welcome change towards student achievement and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Anecdotally, back in the good old days, not so good old days actually, in the province of Quebec, if you were in public school, and it held true through high school, streaming was not just within the classroom, it was class assignments. If you were in the A class, you were top of you were considered the best and the brightest. And if you were in the D class,
oh dear,
you were considered D for dumb.
Oh.
And we used that. That was the playground language. And you know, I think we are the better for it, because we don't have that anymore. And and I do recall, even back in the dark ages, when I was in high school, we were in blended classes, and because we were organized by subject, and what it meant was that the kids who were further ahead actually mentored and helped those who were struggling. So it was kind of a non-de-streaming. I don't know. So it's been around, I suspect, for a while, but now it is much more formally recognized, and especially in core subjects like math and English.
It's research has shown that teacher expectations of students can have a huge impact on their achievement. And David, from what you've just described, if you're already put into these A, B, C, D levels, the expectations are lower. So if a child feels that the teacher has no expectations, I think that that's how they're going to perform. So I'm glad that we've moved away from that in our system anyway in the province, because that certainly I don't feel is appropriate.
Sure.
And anecdotally, people that didn't really find their stride until they were older. And if they'd made choices when they were young, that, then didn't allow them to follow those other pathways. So it's an opportunity just to keep that open for them until they, mature a bit more, find their stride, find what they're interested in. So it's great. And I have a daughter who's a new teacher, and certainly that's what she was trained in. Teachers college would be, she learned this. It will be a change for some teachers that are longer in the process, have been teaching longer and a bit teaching differently. But so it's growth, and it's a learning curve for everyone to find where to fine tune and to how to best move forward with it. But it does make sense for many students. They are very young. I mean, even graduating, you hear many students when they're choosing what they're going to do for the rest of their life in grade 12 and trying to make choices for college, they still don't know. And they are young at 17 or 18 to know what that is.
And how, I don't know what the numbers are, maybe you do, Lori, how many of the grade 12 students go back to complete what they used to call, and maybe still do, the Victory Lap?
It's interesting. Some come back to improve marks so that they can get into a post-secondary education. And we know too that we have some that come back because they've just enjoyed the school experience. So they might want to come back and participate in sports, or pick up a co-op credit that they weren't able to, or a specialist high skills major. So I don't have the data exactly. I would say, I believe we're sitting around 25 to 30%, but we do welcome them back. And I know with my own children, one of my son came back for the 5th year, and he was in theatrical performances, and he really took advantage of that. And my daughter didn't. And I think it would have been healthy and wonderful for her to have done so, but she was anxious to get away.
Well, yes. And as we speak, the university offers and community college offers are now in students' hands, so they have choices to make. And I hear parents talking, I think it'd be good if they did a Victory Lap or went back. But young people will be young people and will make those choices. But it's one of the more intriguing things. But I'm interested to hear your anecdotal, at least, evidence of 20 to 30%. That's interesting. Very interesting. For a whole variety of reasons. Let's talk a bit about some of the, how should we say it? Some of the show-off stuff that our students do. I'm talking about science and technology fair, both the senior and the junior. And I mean, this is where we as parents get blown away. Just, huh?
Oh, I agree. Some of what these students come up with is just absolutely phenomenal. And we have been supporting the science fair for many, many years. And it's an amazing, just what children come up with. And I know sometimes parents support as well, which is fine, because when you can have a lovely collaboration in your family where you're supporting and working on these projects, that's great. But we did the senior Bluewater Regional Science and Tech Fair was held at the Bayshore Community Center, and there were 112 projects submitted to that. And we do have Lucas Muir from Hepworth Central School had a project on hydro harvest. And so the winners are able to go on and to other projects, or I'm sorry, other fairs. So in Carleton University in Ottawa, May 25th to June 1st, they have the National Fair taking place. And there are about $1 million worth of awards and scholarships. So it's pretty lucrative if you're successful in this as well. And we just feel it's a great thing to support. And I actually think, Jane, your daughters were both involved in the science fair, were they?
Yes, they both competed every year. In fact, I just found all their boards that I tucked away as a proud mom and put them in storage. So I was asking them if they wanted them, but they told me no, they were past their old science fair boards. But I think it's an awesome experience for the students. It puts so many skills that they learn in school together: report writing, critical thinking, their research, learning the sticking to a project and seeing it through. There's just so much benefit to it. And my one daughter did go on to the National Fair, and the experience was amazing. So it is exciting to watch the students do it. And congratulations to all of them. It's a lot of work involved.
And I must mention too, the teacher support is really important too, that makes that happen. Do you remember, I'm curious, Jane, what project was it that your daughter went to nationals with?
Concentrating on neonicotinoids.
Oh.
The concentrations on neonicotinoids and what it would mean to our pollinators.
My goodness. Phenomenal.
But this is where it's kind of like going to an attack game and seeing future NHL players. Because if you go to the science fair, what you're seeing are the future scientists, the future people who may be leaders or contribute significantly to our knowledge as a community, as a nation. No, not all. They won't all be Rhodes Scholars, but they will certainly. You got to have a level of ability to do this kind of work, and so it's good to see that. Hey, there's good stuff there. There's good stuff there.
I also am struck with. I mean, science fair is wonderful, but I'm struck by all of the competitions that our students get involved with. Not all of them are interested in science to the same degree. Some, it's our public speaking. For some, it's theater, music, and we have so many opportunities for our kids to shine, and I'm always excited for that. And our sports teams, of course.
Well, speaking of public speaking, which is very close to my heart, there's the Concours French Public Speaking Contest as well. So it's not just in English; it's also in French. Who wants to talk about that one?
I can chat about that, David. So we did hold on March 27th here at the Education Center. We had 83 students participate in that. So in 14 different categories, and this is around French speaking. So they have the categories. So 69 of the students came with a prepared speech, and 14 chose to roll the dice. So they're given a picture, and then they have to describe it in French, or they're given a sentence prompt, and then they have to deliver a speech from that sentence prompt. So the number is just phenomenal, again, that we have participating in that. And again, with Jane mentioned about competitions, so then those winners will go on to provincial finals, which takes place at York University on May 4th. And so we are very fortunate. In our board, we have many students enrolled in French programs, whether it's immersion and or core French. So we've been promoting that for years. It's most important to us. So we're happy for the representation that will be going on to York University, and we were thrilled with the concours evening that we had here as well.
Well, I have to say that it's one thing to do public speaking in your mother language.
Yes.
It's a whole other ball game to do it in a language that is not your first language. So kudos to those young people
Oh,
who really ventured forth, and
absolutely.
that's 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 taking a huge risk, and delightful to see. So props to all of them. They did. Sounds like you guys had fun too.
Well, I I'm one of those students who took French till grade 12, but the focus at the time was on grammar
Yes.
and not on oral or the speaking. So my retention from an oral perspective has not been good. And that is something that, um, I wish very much that I could speak better French and understand. So when I sit and listen, I don't, I am amazed at these young people. Just amazing.
Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I see there's also, lest we think that science and tech and public speaking are the only programs, you've got a really interesting, and I'm just reading the teaser on it, Tools of the Trades Boot Camp. I'm thinking, okay, there's a story here. What's that about?
Well, it's for students who are interested. This one specifically was around transportation programs and students enrolled in our transportation courses that we have. So they had an event held at Owen Sound District Secondary School, and we had 30 participants come. And it was it was in the automotive shop, and it was helping them develop. They had hands-on learning, but also soft skills learning, the students. And so for the practical part of the day, they were given an automotive challenge that they had to complete. And they also went home with some special gifts to take home, which was nice. And the challenge was including a tear down and reassembly of a small engine and working with disc and drum brakes, as well as rear tire alignment and chain inspection, removal, and adjustment for a dirt bike. So all things out of my understanding, but these young people are very, very, very talented. And the theoretical component was focusing on career development. And so they heard from tools in the trades industry experts who came in and talked about important employability skills and then opportunities as well for them for jobs in the future. And they talked about interview preparation, and they practiced some examples in responses to interview questions. So how to put together a resume and a cover letter. And as I had already mentioned, we had co-op placement businesses come in and talk to the students as well. So just fantastic opportunity for the students. And the Tools in the Trade Boot Camp, it's an Employment Ontario initiative funded by both provincial and federal governments, because we know how short we are in the skilled trades and having people entering the skilled trades. So we are doing our best to promote that with our youth and taking these opportunities for our youth. So it was a really successful day.
Good. Well, certainly, from the number of, I won't say help wanted, but skilled technicians or skilled tradespeople signs wanted, and knowing small business owners who are desperate to hire people in the skilled trades. This is a really good step forward. Very good step forward.
I would also like to comment too, like we've been successful in Bluewater promoting the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. And I think I've shared in this program before how our rates of students in that program really do exceed the province. And so we are doing our best to help populate the skilled trades in Ontario.
And you also work in conjunction with Georgian College as well, don't you?
Yes, they have been an amazing partner for us and continue to be. We try to partner in many different aspects with them and sharing space, things like that. So yes, they've been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see. Hey, I may see the next mechanic that works on my truck.
That's right.
Or my lawnmower.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds like it was a great day. Great day.
It sure was.
Now, this kind of flips into another topic, the Regional Technological Skills Challenge. What's that about?
Well, and that aligns nicely with really what we just spoke about, but it does branch into other fields other than just transportation. So we then host this Regional Tech Skills Challenge, and we had 3 locations where it was being held: Georgian College, and then Sydenham campus, and Owen Sound District Secondary School. So there are different categories. One was carpentry, and they enter a team of 2. Culinary, electrical installations, hairstyling, and welding. So quite a range of different categories that are represented. And those students, they compete as well with the opportunity to go on further. So we have, there's a 2024 Skills Ontario qualifying competition being held in Barrie. And the first place finishers go there. And then there's also a Skills Ontario competition in Toronto that some of the competitors go to. So again, can't think, like, it's just, there are partners, there are judges, there are tech teachers and other staff who help. So everybody comes forward for that day. Our Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program staff supported as well. And the students all go away with some kind of lovely, not a prize necessary, but something to support the field that they entered. So I've been there before to observe. And for example, culinary might go home with some kind of big mixer of sort. Like, the prizes are quite substantial. So it's, again, another opportunity for students to profile their skills in a competitive but friendly event.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know those prizes can be quite useful.
Oh, yeah.
One of my kids actually won a complete set of chef's knives in one of those
wonderful.
years ago.
Oh,
years
wonderful.
Ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he kept them for several years until he was able to afford the top quality that he really needed. But it was a good thing.
Wow.
You know, it was so this is, and I can tell you, there is particularly in the area of culinary, there is a shortage.
Oh,
huge shortage.
And I know I've enjoyed some of your son's food, and it's amazing. So he does a great job. We're lucky to have him in this area.
Well, yes, and I know that the Georgian program, the OYAP program, as well as the culinary program, are very well supported, as well as all of the trades. And actually, I was talking to the parent, who is also a tradesperson, of someone who is a relatively recent graduate of Bluewater, who started out in an apprenticeship and has actually moved from the apprenticeship into a full-time job in one of the institutions here in Grey Bruce, and is now not only doing well, but is making a considerable, very respectable income.
Oh, yes.
Because he's followed that path of from apprenticeship to what will probably be a full-time job, a full-time career in their trade, because of where they are and what the need is. And this is one of our local institutions. They've got 4 people in that specific trade on staff alone. Some of them are reaching retirement.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear that these, and if people want to know, where should I go? Well, there's lots of opportunities. Lots of opportunities.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, I'm looking at my menu here. My goodness. Let's talk about some of the things that are happening at the Outdoor Education Center, because I gather there's been something connecting human rights and equity in nature at the Outdoor Center. What's that about?
We are so fortunate to have that facility, I must admit. And this was an opportunity for some grade 7 and 8 students. And the one we have profiled, like, anybody, if they're so inclined, can go on our website, because some of the stories that I'm sharing with you have amazing pictures to accompany the stories. So this one particularly does. So this one was, we had John Diefenbaker senior school students, grade 7 and 8 students, go to the Outdoor Ed Center. And the purpose was to make a meaningful connection between nature and human rights and equity. And we have a human rights and equity advisor, Avian Campbell, and he joined the group as well to participate in outdoor activities and learning. And he shared his expertise during the time with human rights and equity and its connection to nature. And the discussion points for the students and staff that were there is around importance of teamwork and collaborating with individuals with whom you've not worked with previously, and understanding the sharing of resources for survival and fun in nature. And really, the Outdoor Education Center, it's a perfect platform for incorporating reinforcement of diversity, equity, inclusion, because nature is so diverse. And we are nature, we are diverse, and so many valuable connections were made around that. And at the same time, the students participated in fire building and shelter building and orienteering. It was just, I mean, I wish to be young again and go and participate in all that these students get to participate in. It's such a privilege, really, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's quite remarkable. Hey, even, okay, you can build a fire yourself, but it's a whole lot more fun when you're doing it with a bunch of people, because it actually makes a better fire. Absolutely. And your comment about the interconnectedness of nature is something that a lesson we can all learn. We don't live in an island. We live in an interconnected community and a interconnected planet. So, I mean, it's kind of an absurd example, but I think it's a good one of our interconnectedness. I was in a meeting yesterday, and someone was speaking, and they were speaking a little bit about themselves, and they named their grandparents, and I said, I know your grandparents. and this is the interconnectedness of Grey Bruce, that we are interconnected. Anyway, believe it or not, we've reached our time, because it's time to say thank you to both you, Lori, and you, Jane, for your time spared talking about our Bluewater District School Board. So thank you both.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. Oh yes, we'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Join us next week. We'll be chatting with Joachim Ostertag about Earth Day events for Owen Sound.
Also, Rhonda Mitchell will join us from the Billy Bishop Home and Museum to talk about the Fire and Ice Gala. And Renee will join us from the Owen Sound Animal Show.
Buckle up. We're cleared for takeoff.
Here we go, boys. Here we go.
16 teams, one champion for the greatest trophy in sports.
You know why I'm here. A time for new heroes to be born.